I'd like to rapidly build out one last feature with you. When we look at a particular to-dos page, I'd like to be able to add comments to this page, either on my own to-dos or on someone else's. So I'd like to add a comments feature. We'll start off by creating the comments collection using the iron tool. So we'll generate a collection called comments. And I'll also create a new template in the to-dos folder that I'll call comments list. Next, let's go and create the security rules for our new comments collection. By default, we're not allowed to do anything. And so we need to add some rules that allow us to actually create comments. And those rules will be pretty simple. If you're logged in other words, these two double bangs here convert this to a truthy or falsy value. And so if there's a user ID, then you can create a comment. We're not going to implement update or remove, but I'll add the security rules anyway. And we'll say if the user ID is equal to the one on the doc, then it's okay to update it. And the same for remove. All right, next up, let's go over to our publish function, and we want to publish out the comments for a particular to-do. So I'm going to do that in the publish function for to-do. So instead of having to subscribe to something different, we can just do it right here. And so I'll add an entry here for comments, and we'll search for all comments where the to-do ID is equal to this particular to-do's ID. And so that they come off the wire sorted, I'll go ahead and specify a sort modifier here. So we'll sort by the created at date in descending order. So one thing to note here in this publish function is that this will get published out first, and then this, and then the comments. And so we want the actual to-do information to get published before comments, because we might have a ton of comments coming off the wire, and we can go ahead and show the information for the to-do before the comments come off the wire. So that's why I put this last instead of in between or up front. Next up, I've opened up the to-dos detail template on the left, and on the right I have the JavaScript for that template. We're going to make a few modifications. The first is, let's render out the comments list down at the bottom. So I'll render out the template called comments list. And for now, we'll just see the boilerplate HTML if we did this correctly. Great. And in the right, since we're going to have another form here for editing or creating new comments, I want to be a little bit more specific on this event handler. So right now, we're just handling the submit event for any form. But what I want to do is add an ID for the edit to do form. And then over in the event handler, we won't just handle this for any form. We'll handle it for the edit to do. That'll be a little bit more specific. Okay, great. And next up, we can go and fill in the comments list HTML. Lastly, I've opened up the comments list template and its corresponding JavaScript file on the right. And let's go ahead and fill in the template first. So I'm going to paste in some code here, and I'll walk you through it. So we have a wrapper class here for comments, and then a form for creating a new comment with a text area that has a name of body. And then we'll iterate over a list of comments, and for each one, we'll show the body for the comment, and then who left it, and a timestamp. And then lastly, if there's no comments, we'll just print a list item here that says no comments. Okay, over on the right, let's fill in these event handlers and helpers. We'll start off by providing the comments helper so that we can get a list of all the comments. So we'll return all the comments for this particular to-do. And so let's set the to-do equal to this so that we don't get confused. So we'll find all the comments where the to-do ID is equal to the to-do ID. And we can sort by the created at date. So we'll show all the comments in descending order. Okay, great. Now we need to handle the event handler, or provide an event handler for the form submission. So we'll say submit form with an ID of new comment so that we don't randomly pick up other forms. And just like before, the first thing I'm going to do is prevent the default here. And then we'll get an assignment to the current data context. All right, next up, let's grab the text area value. So this will be the body. And so we'll search for a text area where the name is equal to body and grab that value. And we'll take this comment and insert it. So comments insert. And we'll give it a date and a to-do ID. And we also want to give it a user ID so that we know which user left the comment. So we'll say user ID is equal to the currently logged in user. And then the body of the comment will be the body that we get from the text area. And when we're done with all this, we can get the form and reset it. So I'll grab that up here. Oops, find, and then we'll grab the form. And then down here, we'll say form.reset. All right, looks like we have a syntax error, so maybe you found it before I did, but let's double check. So it looks like it's on line 11. Just need to add a comma here. And now we can try out this, this new comment text box. So I'll just call this the first comment. And it looks like the submit handler is not working. So let's debug this a bit. The first thing you'll notice up here is that the form actually submitted. So it went to the server, which means that this function here is not actually getting called at all. And that's because it looks like we're selecting for an ID, but that ID doesn't exist. So let's go over here and add this ID. And then I'll clear up this URL and we'll try this again. Great, so our comment is appearing in the list, but it's not showing who left the comment and when the comment was left. So we need to fill that in next. First, let's get the user for the comment, and that's going to come from this property called user, which we don't have yet. So we need to create a helper here called user. And the user will be the user for this given task. So let's say the to-do is equal to this current data context. And then we'll find the user whose ID is equal to the to-do's user ID. Okay, great. So we get the login name, and next we need to get the timestamp for this particular comment. So I'm going to create another helper called timestamp. Now I want to do something cool here. I could just return the comments created at timestamp. So let's say that the comment is equal to the current data context, and I could just return comment created at. So we'll start off with that. But what I want to do is show something a little snazzier. I'd like to show how long ago in words. And so we could say 3 seconds ago, 1 minute ago, and so on. And to do that, we can add another package called moment.js. So I'll come down to the console here and say iron add moment.js :moment. And this is a date parsing library that gives us a lot of cool features to use to print dates in pretty formats. So instead of returning comment.createdAt, I'm going to say moment and then wrap this date and then call the fromNow function on it. And notice over on the right, the date should look a lot nicer now. So it says 2 minutes ago, just like on Facebook. Then we can add another comment just to make sure that it looks okay. And now we've added comments to our to-dos page.